Welcome to Nice and Blunt. I'm Adam Riancho, and it's Monday. Time to make some win-loss picks for every game in Week 9. As always, we always take a look at last week's picks first, tell you where I was right, where I was wrong. Here is the report card. Not my best week so far. We go 7-5 on the week, but there were a couple of shocking games that did happen. One of them, I did not predict at all. The Dolphins, I thought, had no chance. Even with Kirk Cousins and no Drake London, I was still very confident in Atlanta, and that was incorrect. Even Bijan looked like shit against the Dolphins. That was a big shocker. I don't think anyone really predicted the Dolphins would win by blowout. So that game, whatever. I got that one wrong. But then a big upset that very few people predicted, I did see coming. The Jets did beat the Bengals. That one felt good. And that one kind of makes me kind of not care about some of the other misses. But other games I got right were the Chargers beating Minnesota. I thought that game would be closer, but it was also a bit of a blowout. The Patriots did beat Cleveland pretty comfortably. The Eagles took care of business against the Giants. Saquon went off early and Scadaboo went down. That was pretty sad. Looked really painful, the injury to Cam Scadaboo. In Carolina, as expected, the Bills did win by blowout. But in Baltimore, I thought earlier in the week Lamar Jackson would play. I picked the Ravens. I bought into the narrative of 1-5, their season on the line. And then I wavered once Lamar Jackson was ruled out. I pivoted to Chicago. So I completely dismissed Tyler Huntley. I honestly thought Cooper Rush might have still been the quarterback back on Saturday. I did not really think this one through enough. So that one bit me in the ass. I did change my opinion on Saturday, and that one was originally correct, but I'm sticking with my updated call. I did pivot to Chicago, and that was wrong. In Houston, though, I did not expect the Texans to look that good. Really good defensive effort, and then on offense, without Nico Collins, also looked amazing. So maybe the Niners defense, this is the end of the road. Given all their injuries, we were expecting a bit of a collapse. Against DeMeco Ryans, who's very familiar with them, they did shit the bed. So Texans were the winner. I didn't predict that, but I did predict Tampa winning. Their defense was a fucking juggernaut. They almost had another touchdown that was called back. I didn't understand why that Antoine Winfield touchdown did not count. But in Denver, I think I was maybe leaning into my AFC West Chargers bias. I don't think I wanted the Broncos to win, and that one felt like a bit of a coin flip entering the week. So underestimated their defense. Even though Surtain went down, the Cowboys offense really had no answer for the Broncos. So RJ Harvey, an amazing game. Troy Franklin, also an amazing game. And J.K. Dobbins also ran for 100 yards. Good for Denver. They look really good. The Broncos are going to be tough to beat. The Colts did cruise to victory as expected, a blowout. They also covered. That was nice. But then I had faith in Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, and it did not prove to be correct. Jordan Love looks like he's taking on that mantle. I think playing against Aaron Rodgers meant something to him, and he really, really showed out in the second half. Good game by the Packers. So on the week, I go 7-5. We do have one game left, the Chiefs against the Commanders. And against Mariota, I would be pretty surprised if Washington wins. I am taking the Chiefs tonight pretty comfortably to beat Washington. So I go 7-5. And now let me show you the poll results. We asked the audience, and these are your picks this week. Y'all go 7-4-1, but the path to 7 wins was a little bit different than mine. So let's review all of your answers. Collectively, you guys did take the Chargers. That one was correct, but almost nobody took Miami. Literally 8% of responders took the Dolphins, and typically there's about 5% that's just taking them to troll. So very limited belief in Miami. That one was a major shock across the board, but I did take the Jets. This is where I at least picked up one game. Only 12% of y'all agreed with me, and 88 were incorrect, picking the Bengals. So that one was a major upset you guys did not see coming, but we both agreed on the Patriots. That was the correct call. We also agreed on the Eagles game. That was the correct call. And then I'm not quite sure what the poll was actually looking like on Friday. By the time kickoff happened, most of y'all were wrong on the Bears. But Buffalo did cruise to victory. That one was correct. Tampa as well. That one was correct. And y'all and I agreed on San Francisco, and that one was an upset as well. The Houston Texans only picked about 23% of the time. But interestingly, that coin flip I mentioned, the Cowboys-Broncos game, literally was 50-50 according to the poll results. And so while I'm not giving you the L, I cannot give you the win. 50-50 has to be logged as a tie. True coin flip, it wasn't as close in actuality. But as expected, the Colts did cruise. You guys were right on Sunday Night Football, though. The Green Bay pick was correct. So that one cancels out my Jets pick where we disagreed, and we are entering Monday night both with 7 wins. But you guys do have the tie, so you guys do pick up half a game on me. And last Monday, y'all picked up a game as well with the Lions over Tampa. So although I was really close to coming back and taking the lead, I am still behind. This is the updated record for y'all and I. Y'all go 76, 41, and 3. Last 2 weeks, y'all have picked up a tie because the poll results have been so close on a couple games. So technically with 3 ties, really it's 3 games ahead of my record, 74, 45, and 1. So I have 4 more losses than y'all, 2 fewer correct, and then 2 fewer ties. That's about a 3-game difference if we are doing the math there. So I am coming back, but this week you do pick up half a game, and who knows, maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. As the season goes on, this is going to be a close battle. I can feel it. But let's talk about my record against the spread. This is where I'm not impressive at all. Back in weeks 3 and 4, I went 1-11, and I have failed to claw my way back. After week 8, we go 2-3 with the Chiefs left to play. So I am really hoping that the Chiefs do dominate as expected. I did take Kansas City minus 10.5, and the line, I believe, is up to 11 entering tonight. So hopefully I get that one right, because if I'm wrong, then that would be another losing week. I can't really afford to go 2-4, hoping to go 3-3. So at the moment on the season, I am 20-27. Like I mentioned, weeks 3 and 4 were so bad. I am still 7 games back. 1-11 in that stretch was fucking brutal. So wish me luck. I really need it. But in general, I don't recommend following my against the spread picks. But let's move on. Let's talk about week 9 and all the matchups set to take place. There are 4 teams on bye. The Browns, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Bucks are inactive. So 14 games this week. Let us begin on Thursday with the Dolphins hosting the Ravens. I have no idea who the quarterback will be for Baltimore, but I don't think it matters. I think the Tyler Huntley revenge game will result in a Ravens win. Last year, he filled in for Tua in about 4 games, I believe, and they were somewhat okay, but they did move off of him, and Zach Wilson is now their backup. So he may have some added motivation. I'm not convinced he's the quarterback. It could definitely be Lamar. He was practicing last week and then downgraded to out, and I'm not sure if he'll play, but I would assume they can still beat the Dolphins regardless who the quarterback is. If they can beat Chicago, I think they can beat the Dolphins, but I don't think this will be a blowout even if Lamar does play. I think the Dolphins have played in some close matchups, and then they just blew out the Falcons. So I think Miami is hungry for a win. They got one, but I don't think they're satisfied. I think they'll play well. They've had some close calls. They've usually covered the spread this season. So I don't think it'll be an automatic win, but I will take Baltimore. Given how far behind they are, I think this is still a must-win territory. Their season still is technically on the line. They can't afford to lose more than 1 or 2 games rest of the year. So Ravens with the reluctant dub, but if it is Lamar, I'd feel a bit more confident. With Tyler Huntley, it's a little bit closer. On Sunday, we do have some interesting matchups, though. The Bengals take on Chicago, and I do not trust the Cincinnati defense whatsoever. So because Ben Johnson knows what he's doing, I trust that the Bears will get out to an early lead. The Bengals are just so bad at stopping the run that even if Caleb Williams doesn't do much, I still think DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai will be able to win this game with a hand tied behind their back. I do not trust the Bengals defense at all. I think they caught a lucky break with the Thursday night matchup against the veteran Steelers, and then they completely slept on the Jets. They checked out before that game was over, and they gave up almost 40 points to essentially Breece Hall and a bunch of backups. So I do not trust Cincinnati. I know Joe Flacco could play well, but the Bears defense has been stepping up a little bit lately. And I think at the end of the day, Ben Johnson's offense will just be too much for the Bengals defense. So don't trust their personnel, trusting the play calling for the Bears. I will take Chicago on the road to get the win, but it does feel a bit foolish. Road Bears victory isn't that common. I'm just trusting Ben Johnson over Zach Taylor's defense. Let's go Bears at the Bengals. In Detroit, the Lions coming off a bye week host the Vikings, who are coming off a little extended rest. They played on Thursday, and it does look like JJ McCarthy is expected to get the start. So Carson Wentz hyper banged up. McCarthy not as banged up as the injury report would have suggested, in my opinion, but was being sheltered from the Jesse Minter defense, and I understand why. He would have looked like shit if he played against the Michigan coaching staff that knows him very well. So I understand the logic, but Wentz I feel bad for, and I really don't trust the Vikings offense with McCarthy. So the Lions off a bye, especially at home, Goff is going to light them up. I have no confidence in Minnesota whatsoever. Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, going to torch them. Give me Lions 100% over the Vikings. Definitely not taking JJ McCarthy. But who knows? Perhaps playing in the state of Michigan might motivate him to step up. It's possible, but I just don't see it. I do not trust the Vikings and their quarterback play. Give me Detroit 100%. In Green Bay, the Packers host the Panthers, and I don't think the Packers are going to win as big as the line projects. They're heavy favorites by almost 2 touchdowns, and I don't think it's a lock that Andy Dalton will be the starter again. So I think the Bills defense kind of caught a break last week. I'm not convinced that Carolina is actually as bad as they looked last week. And the Packers, I think, coming off a big emotional organizational win, like against Rodgers, carries a lot of weight. I could see them kind of sleep on this opponent and kind of fall back down to earth just a little bit because they played so well on Sunday night. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just keep cruising. They've only lost 1 game so far, but then they've also given up 40 points to a team like Dallas. So I think Bryce Young coming back is a genuinely decent bet to make. And assuming he does play, I think it'll be close. But I will take the Packers to win. I am saying all that just to remind you the Packers are still better. And I will take the Packers to win straight up. But I think it's a closer game. I think the Panthers have some chance to keep it within a touchdown, and the line is not even close to that. So give me Green Bay to win, but the Panthers I think will cover. I like them against the spread later on. In Tennessee, the Titans host the Chargers, and if you tell me the Chargers lose this game, I will go ballistic. This would be such a disappointing L. I can't picture it happening. Cam Ward has looked like shit. Tyjae Spears kind of woke up last week, but I just don't see it. The Titans don't have anyone that can stop you, and their defense is just atrocious. So I will trust the Chargers with Joe Alt healthy. They can run it down your throat, and Herbert is really unstoppable. Herbert's going to be fantastic. With Gadsden popping off, the rookie tight end looking elite, I don't want to fade my Chargers. Definitely against bad teams like this, they will get the easy wins. Give me the Chargers 100% on the road at Tennessee. In New England, the Patriots host the Falcons, and part of me kind of feels like the Falcons may have slept on the Dolphins so much because the 28-3 Patriots loss in the Super Bowl still hangs over their head, and they put all of their focus on prepping for Mike Vrabel's Patriot team. So maybe that is actually what happened, but in actuality, maybe their offense is just that bad without Drake London. Kirk Cousins also looked like shit, but I didn't see Bijan looking that bad coming at all. It was a good matchup for Bijan. That was hyper shocking. So they got so embarrassed. I have to imagine the Falcons bounce back and play better, but the Patriots have been rolling teams. The Patriots have looked so good, and I still kind of feel like organizationally the 28-3 memory is not going to go away. Even if the Falcons hold the lead, I could still see a comeback happen with the Patriots against the Falcons. This game is in Foxborough, good home field advantage. The Falcons have also looked really bad outdoors when Penix is the starter, and it's also not a guarantee that him or London will come back. So if they're stuck with Cousins, I had some faith back on Saturday in Cousins. Now that's completely shattered. I have no confidence in Kirk Cousins. And if they have to rely on Darnell Mooney, then fuck that shit. 100% taking the Patriots. So even if Penix and London return, it'll be a closer game, but I'll still take New England. I'm going to trust Drake May, who looks like potentially the best quarterback of that draft class. At worst, he looks better than Caleb Williams. At worst, Drake May would be number 2 off the board if we redrafted last year's quarterback class. So I will trust the Patriots. They don't have that many competitive games left on their schedule. They could easily be the 1 seed in the AFC, honestly. I could see them go 13-4. Not that shocking if it would happen. So I expect this game to be a win. I will take the Patriots over the Falcons. I have not seen enough consistency from Atlanta to believe in them. I will trust Mike Vrabel in this spot. Give me New England over Atlanta. In New York, the Giants host the Niners, and the loss of Cam Skattebo is really going to reverberate in the locker room. Really tough loss, hard to stomach, brutal injury, but I don't think Tyrone Tracy is a terrible replacement. Tracy was a somewhat decent starting running back last year, and filling in for Skattebo, I think he can play well. And I also think the rest of the roster is going to rally around the loss of him. So they've been really competitive lately. I know they didn't win against the Eagles, not even close to a win, but they did beat them 2 weeks before that. And then they almost beat the Broncos. That's a really legit team. And then they also beat the Chargers, another playoff roster in the AFC. So I think the Giants can carry their weight. I don't think they're just going to roll over. And I also think playing for Skattebo off the emotion of losing him, that's going to carry some weight for a few weeks. I think they will play out of their mind in honor of losing Cam Skattebo. So I actually like the Giants to play very well in this spot. I do not trust the Niners defense at all. And Jackson Dart looks good. He got Darius Slayton back. And if Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger contribute heavily again, I could see 4 passing touchdowns from Jackson Dart this week. I have no faith in the Niners defense. So we haven't seen the Texans competitive for a while on offense. They looked great against the Niners, and a West Coast team traveling East Coast for an early morning game usually does not track well for them to be automatic wins. So I know most people will be on the side of the Niners, but I don't see it. I predicted an upset because of the Giants D-line back in the summer when I was picking the Niners schedule. And I think with their injuries on offense, it's a weird vibe. Even if they get Purdy back, I'm not convinced their offense is going to take a big leap. So it's not a convincing win either way, but I will side with the home team. 9 out of the 14 road teams this week are favored, and the Niners are one of them. This is one of my upset predictions. I will take the Giants straight up to beat the Niners. I do not believe the Niners are a playoff team. I think the Giants will capitalize on their weaknesses. I will take New York over San Francisco. Jackson Dart, I think, is legit. So that's one of my upsets this week. Give me the Giants over the Niners. And then in Pittsburgh, the Steelers are hosting the Colts. The Colts are unstoppable. They probably should have beat the Rams, honestly, and it feels really unlikely that the Steelers defense has any answer for them. A few years ago, the Colts beat the Steelers and their offense wasn't as good. I just don't trust Mike Tomlin's defense right now. They're too old, and the Colts are just unstoppable. Even if you stop one player, they have a Swiss Army knife behind them. They can beat you in 1,000 different ways. Pittman's playing amazing. Downs looks really good. And then Alec Pierce down the field is such a good deep threat. We know Tyler Warren's really hard to stop. And I haven't even mentioned Jonathan Taylor yet, who could legitimately be the MVP if not for Daniel Jones, arguably more valuable on that roster. So I trust the Colts. I like Indy in this spot. I don't want to bet against them. I've seen them demolish my Chargers in person, and last week they demolished the Titans. I think they'll demolish the Steelers as well. I do not believe the Steelers defense can stop them. Give me Indy on the road. I think they'll win comfortably. In Houston, the Texans are hosting Denver, and this is a really, really compelling game between two amazing defenses. With no Surtain, I'm a little worried Nico Collins could pop off. The Texans had a good offense last week without him, so they are gaining confidence. They're getting back in the win column, and I don't think they're just going to roll over. This will be a very close game, and because it's in Houston, I could see the home field advantage factor in a little bit. I'm still wanting to bet against the Broncos, though. I just don't want them to win the division. So at some point, I really want them to lose, but it doesn't feel like they're actually worse than the Texans when you really think about it. So I kind of don't want to pick this game, to be honest with you. I don't really feel confident either which way, but I will side with the home team. I feel like it's odd that 9 road teams are favored, and I want to be taking some of these home teams in some close calls. So in my opinion, this game is like 55-45, probably in favor of Denver, but some weird shit can happen. I like what I'm seeing from the Texans defense a lot right now, and with no Surtain, I could see Nico Collins be a problem. So I will take Houston. Don't feel amazing about it, but I just don't envision Dobbins and RJ Harvey running as well as last week. If you watch that Broncos game, literally the third play of the game, Bo Nix threw an interception, and that was against the Cowboys defense. Their secondary doesn't even compare to the Texans. I could see Bo Nix kind of shit the bed here, but maybe I'm just a hater. Maybe I'm just a Charger fan who's bitter that the Broncos are in first place. So I will take Houston. I will continue to bet against them against my better judgment. I think the Broncos are better, but I think the Texans can take advantage. I think their defense does stop Bo Nix just enough to get the win. Give me Houston over Denver in what I assume would be an upset. I doubt most people will be on this side in the audience poll. Give me the Texans over the Broncos. In Las Vegas, the Raiders and Jags are both coming off of a bye, and on paper, this should be an automatic win for the Jaguars, but they are getting a little less healthy. I'm not quite sure what the health status of Brian Thomas Jr. is this week. He got banged up in London. Travis Hunter looked amazing, but if they lose BTJ, I don't really trust their passing game. It was already pretty suspect earlier in the year. So perhaps off the bye, Travis Hunter is just going to go nuclear rest of the season, and perhaps it doesn't matter if BTJ sits, but I'm not totally convinced that their passing game will play well. But we know the Raiders defense fucking sucks. They should torch them, especially with ETN on the ground. I think they'll step up. But the Jags defense has been like kind of all over the place. They've looked great at times, but then also kind of lucky in terms of turnovers. If the Raiders don't turn it over, I could see the Jags defense not really show up. Genty is really good, and the Raiders are getting healthier. As long as Brock Bowers returns, then I do think they have a shot at the upset, because Jacoby Myers also expected to return. They should be healthy on offense, and the last time they were fully healthy with Bowers was in week 1 when they beat the Patriots. That was a shocking game when you really look back on it at this point in the year. The Patriots have really excelled since then, and the Raiders have absolutely crumbled. But a big reason why might be because Brock Bowers has not been healthy, and if he's good to go, that could be the difference maker. If Geno Smith does not turn it over and throws for 300, then they can definitely beat anyone. So I kind of want to take the Raiders here. It feels kind of stupid, but I just don't feel like the Jags are actually legit. So I'm going to do it. I've picked some upsets the last few weeks that have worked out. Last week, the grossest call was taking the Jets upset, and it did work out. And so I think there are some ugly picks that are worth making. Another situation where the road team being the favorite is something I kind of want to fade. Off the bye, I'm going to believe in Pete Carroll. I will take Geno Smith. It feels dumb as fuck, but if Brian Thomas Jr. does not play, betting against Trevor Lawrence doesn't feel like the worst proposition you could possibly get. So I will take Las Vegas. It's going to be on the back of Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, and I hope Geno does not make me regret it. I'm taking Las Vegas, not just against the spread, but money line. Give me the Raiders to win outright over the Jags. In LA, the Rams are hosting the Saints, and this would be the most automatic dub of the week. The Rams off a bye, Spencer Rattler and the Saints coming to town. They basically lost to just the Bucs defense. If the Bucs offense wasn't a factor last week and Spencer Rattler was on the field the entire game, I think the Bucs defense would have won that game with their own scores. They would have been fine. So I don't trust New Orleans at all. I trust the Rams defense, especially with their defensive line. They also just traded for a corner, and that was a weakness this season. So I do trust the Rams to be by far the better coached offense, and defense. I trust the Rams across the board. Give me LA over New Orleans. A absolute blowout for the Rams. In Buffalo, the game of the week, the Bills are hosting Kansas City. And at this point, you probably know the old song and dance. The Bills always beat the Chiefs in the season. And then once it comes playoff time, the Chiefs break the back of the Bills. So that's usually just how it goes, like clockwork. But the Bills have not looked like themselves this year. I'm not totally convinced that last week's win over Carolina was a convincing win, that all of their problems are solved and they're just ready to beat anyone again. They lost to the Falcons and the Patriots kind of embarrassingly. So I just don't think they're as good as they were last year. And I think the Chiefs are honestly much better than they were last year themselves. So I like the Chiefs in this spot. They lost early in the year. They're hungry for some wins. And especially in this like essentially primetime game, afternoon window with the other afternoon games on the slate, this is clearly the game that the entire country is watching. So they've lost consecutively in the regular season. I think they're kind of tired of that happening. I think they're better than the Bills. I will side with the Chiefs. I think they will win outright. Give me Kansas City, even on the road. I know it's in the regular season, but I think Mahomes will beat Josh Allen. They lost last year. It's not going to happen this time around. Give me Kansas City over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Last game of Sunday would be the Commanders hosting Seattle, and I sure hope that Jaden Daniels plays. It's not going to be as interesting with Mariota. That's kind of what's happening tonight. Not as interesting of a game without Jaden Daniels, but could be fun. This one should be rather competitive. The Seahawks coming off a bye, and if Daniels is healthy, then their entire offense should be healthy as well. Debo's back, Terry's back, and that definitely helps their case to compete. So I do like the Commanders' chances, especially at home. They're kind of reeling off losses right now and need to bounce back. They're not going to give up, but the Seahawks have played exceptionally well on the road. Their defense is a really good overall unit. They have great weapons on offense, and JSN is pretty unstoppable right now. So if they can get Torrey Horton, the rookie 5th-round pick, involved, they like him a lot, and I think he does have a good career ahead of him. If he can contribute, I think that's kind of the only missing piece for the Seahawks offense. They need that second receiving weapon that can really get things going. So I am hopeful that that will happen, but not totally convinced. I'm going to side with Seattle. I think they are the better team. And I think Sam Darnold is playing well enough where their defense only needs to hold opponents to like 25 and they will win. I trust Seattle right now. So I will take the Seahawks. The Commanders play on Monday. They have a lot of veterans on the roster. Short week in primetime. Not even sure if Daniels will even play. A lot of question marks. Too many red flags for me. I'm going to go with Seattle over Washington. A good road team. The Seahawks get the win. Last game of the week, though, is on Monday. The Cowboys are hosting Arizona and the Cardinals. And Dallas can always lose to anyone. Their defense is that bad, but then their offense is that good, where they can also beat some of the best teams in the league. So Cowboys are going to have very interesting, very competitive, go either way games all year, and I wouldn't expect anything different, even with Jacoby Brissett under center. That's what I'm expecting. I don't think Kyler Murray is going to come back. Even if he does, the Cardinals offense is kind of the same with or without him. So I like this spot for players like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. There's also a chance that Trey Benson will return, and that would definitely help the run game quite a bit. So Cowboys are vulnerable, but Cowboys, I think, play much, much better at home historically, and Dak is usually not a player you want to bet against at home, and particularly against a mediocre franchise like Arizona. I just don't see them overcoming the adversity. So I will take Dallas. I think the Cardinals might get out to an early lead, and then after halftime, the Cowboys offense just rolls back. I will take the Cowboys. I trust CeeDee Lamb. I trust Javonte Williams at this point. And I also believe the Cardinals are going to be so focused on CeeDee Lamb, they have no answer for George Pickens. So just too many weapons, too many points, an avalanche against them. They don't stand a chance. Give me Dallas over Arizona. If the Cowboys had a pass rush, then maybe this game would be a blowout. But I think it's somewhat close, and I will still side with Dallas. Hopefully they don't cough it up, but I trust their offense enough, especially in home games. So these are my picks for week 9. On Thursday, I'm taking the Ravens, who are desperate to get the win over Miami. I'll take the Bears and Ben Johnson's offense to beat the Bengals and their terrible defense. The Lions will cruise to victory over J.J. McCarthy off the bye. I'm definitely taking Jared Goff. The Packers will win, but might be a bit closer than expected over Carolina. In Tennessee, the Chargers cruise to victory and automatic win. The Patriots will beat Atlanta, but if London and Penix come back, that game might be a bit closer than expected. The Patriots will come back and get the W. In New York, the Giants will beat the Niners. They rally after losing Cam Scatterbo. In Pittsburgh, the defense does not have an answer for Jonathan Taylor. The Colts win on the road. In Houston, the Texans upset Denver with no Surtain. Nico Collins is the difference. In Las Vegas, Brock Bowers returns and is the missing piece. The Raiders offense does get the job done over Jacksonville. The Rams absolutely blow out the New Orleans Saints. Rattler has no chance in hell to beat Stafford. And then in Buffalo, the regular season dominance comes to an end. The Chiefs get the win at Buffalo. In Washington, the Seahawks come to town off the bye, get a win of their own. Darnold continues to roll. And then lastly, in Dallas, the Cowboys offense holds off the Arizona Cardinals. Dallas wins on Monday. There's 4 teams on bye: the Browns, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Buccaneers. And those are my win-loss picks for week 9. But as always, I also give you 6 picks against the spread. And remember, I am below 500 on the year. This segment is mainly just for entertainment purposes only. But typically, I'm somewhere around 3-3 most weeks. These are my picks. I believe that the Chargers will win massively. So give me the Chargers minus 10.5. I think they should be 2 touchdown favorites. I also think the Rams are going to absolutely dominate over the Saints. And that line is exactly where I'm willing to take advantage. Minus 13.5. If it dips over 14, then leave that alone. But less than 2 touchdowns, I will take LA, the Rams, over the Saints. So both LA favorites, I think, will cover this week. However, a big road dog, I don't think will lose by 2 touchdowns. The Panthers getting 12.5 points feels like it's just too much. I will take Carolina, assuming Bryce Young comes back. I think they'll keep it somewhat interesting. Their defense is much better than I think what the Pittsburgh Steelers put up last week. So perhaps I'm underestimating their offense, but they have been a bit inconsistent. I don't think Jordan Love will play lights out in this matchup. Give me Carolina and the points, but they do lose straight up. The Green Bay Packers win, but not by 2 touchdowns. They lost to the Browns earlier in the year. I don't think they'll blow out a somewhat average team like Carolina. I think last week's loss from the Panthers is not emblematic of how bad they are. Give me Carolina plus 12.5. They will cover, but not win. And then in Pittsburgh, I think the Colts should be massive favorites here. I think minus 3 is a good line to capitalize on. At the very least, it'll be a push, but I just do not think the Steelers defense has the answers. A bit too old, and the Jonathan Taylor-led Colts offense is just too much. Give me Indy minus 3, a favorite that I think should be way more favored against the spread. In New York, though, I'm calling upset. So honestly, I'm giving you the Giants money line pick, but against the spread, I will make it a bit easier. Give me the Giants plus 2.5. I think they can win straight up. The Niners traveling cross country is not my ideal spot for them. And the Giants have upset some good teams. They've played well even without Scatterbo. I think Tracy will step up. Lastly, I am wavering on this last pick. I kind of want to give you the Raiders plus 3, but even though I'm picking them to win straight up, I could definitely see myself being wrong, and I don't want to double down and be wrong twice on that call. So Raiders plus 3 is very tempting, but I'm going to take that away. Instead, I'm going to take a massive underdog to cover. The Dolphins have played very close all year. They've covered a lot, and although it feels gross to ever believe in them, 7.5 is a lot, especially if you tell me that Tyler Huntley is the quarterback. I just don't think that offense is that scary. And because they shut down Bijan Robinson last week, I'm willing to think that maybe their run defense is not as bad going into Thursday. Maybe, just maybe, they do step up against Derrick Henry. So even though I definitely think the Ravens win, by 8 or more points. That's a lot to believe in with Tyler Huntley. And even if it's Lamar Jackson, I'm not that convinced that their offense is like going to be elite all of a sudden. They had some big problems earlier in the year, and Lamar is clearly not 100% healthy. So I will reluctantly take the Dolphins and the points. 7.5, I think they can cover. I think they only lose by exactly a touchdown, and that extra half point is just so valuable. Give me the Dolphins plus 7.5. Despite my better judgment, I'll take them and the points. So these are my 6 picks against the spread. 2 heavy favorites, the LA Rams minus 13.5 and the Chargers minus 10.5. I think both of them will win by 2 touchdowns. I like the big favorites from LA. And then in Green Bay, I like the Packers to win, but not by 2 touchdowns. Give me Carolina getting 12.5. That's just a lot of points. I'll take it and move on. And then in Pittsburgh, I think the Colts are way better than the Steelers. So just a field goal. I'll stick with the favorites, Colts minus 3. And then I believe in the straight up money line bet for the Giants, but getting 2.5, I'll take the Giants as underdogs to cover. And then I want to give you the Raiders to cover, but that one feels very risky. So instead, I'll take the Dolphins to cover and get an extra 4.5 points. Dolphins plus 7.5. After last week, it appears they can beat anyone. So give me the Dolphins as underdogs. Those are my picks against the spread. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As always, answer the polls. I'm 3 games back and there's still half the season left to pick games. So for some reason, the polls weren't showing up with proper visibility. For some reason, YouTube is kind of not showcasing all of my polls. So I don't really know what went wrong. They're claiming there's nothing going on, but I did have like 3 or 4 polls last week that were posted for like 20 plus hours and got 0 votes. For whatever reason, they were a little bit funky last week. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed this content. And if so, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time. My name's Adam Riancho. And thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.